How you doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Please like and subscribe to the YouTube page, Unapologetically Black. Today, what I'd like to be discussing is the application of politics for our community and how other races applies politics in order to better their lives, better their surroundings, right? How the government benefit other people versus us, and what we need to use our vote to ask for and request for. This is a report from a Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. A Brookfield alderman said low-income people should live in West Allis or Wauwatosa. As the Brookfield Common Council reviewed final plans for the flat at Bishop Woods Affordable Housing Project on January 17th, one alderman comments were deemed not only off-topic but also against the law. In November, the council approved a planned development district rezoning for the four-story 203-unit flats at Bishop Woods. Their 8-6 vote meant that as long as developers stay within established PDD guidelines, there's no legal basis for the project to be rejected for final approval. Real estate developer Lincoln Avenue Capital final plans for approval were considered at the council January 17th meeting, but Alderman Crush Seal's controversial objections strayed from the proposal and violated over a half-century-old legislation. I just want us to understand what is occurring here. The state is funding a 203 family unit in Brookfield. State funded, money given to Lincoln Avenue Capital to develop this property. So they're going to own it and manage the property through state funds, receive the benefits. But yet, it seems to never be no money when blacks are requesting the funding, or we seem to think there's no funding available as far as redeveloping our community. We have to use these examples as requirements that we need to develop our own community. These are examples of what government can help and assist with. The flats at Bishop Wood, funded by a state grant at no cost to the city, will offer workforce housing priced at $400 less than a city of Brookfield average housing qualifies as affordable when its cost doesn't exceed 30% of households' earning income, according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is what I spoke on the previous podcast about us politically pulling our resources together and demanding, right? And demanding that we receive equitable, that we receive the funding to develop our own community. The money's there. They provide it for other groups of people. But if you are a divided group of people and you're trying to leave your community, you don't have a focus of collectively working together to develop your community and build it into something better. In Brookfield, workforce housing would be affordable for individuals and families with an annual earned income of $42,952 to $85,904. The Waukesha County Business Alliance said in a letter to the councils that supported the development. The average income in Milwaukee is around $28,000. So you can build affordable housing for people who are making $42,000 to $85,000. But there's no effort to create affordable housing in our community. Because when I speak of redlining, I said the government subsidized their mortgages. We're not trying to be renters. We're not trying to get them to develop rental properties in our community. We're trying to be owners. We need assets. The government has been funding and sponsoring major corporations and large businesses for the longest. Ask yourself, this is going to be a government funded building. Who's going to do the havoc? How many minority contractors will be involved in the development of this project? Ventilation system, floors, the windows. It's various contracts or subcontracts that come from the development of a property. This is government funded. How many minorities will have a large stake in that? And I'm not talking about women minority where white men take their wives up and set their wives up with a business that they operate and get minority set aside contracts. How many black businesses will actually be able to participate in this development that was state funded? See, these are the questions we need to ask. Now, what they would tell you is that certain black businesses are not viable due to a lack of resources. Be clear, most products that they're going to use in construction are available for lease, and the finances that most people receive from construction comes after they receive the contract. Once they receive the contract and the side of the contract, the bank finances them what's needed for them to complete the job. So if the state gave these individuals, black individuals, the contracts, right, as part of this building, that contract is the collateral for them to generate whatever, to them to get whatever tools they need to complete the job. So the concept that they are unable to fulfill, or there's no black businesses that's capable of doing that, is a facade that they use. This is why you need to pull yourself together politically, work as a collective, right? And have a structured purpose for your vote. Request something in exchange for your vote. All right? But you're going to have a divided effort if you're divided as far as leaving out your community, or you feel trapped in your community. If you have a concept or a desire to build your community, then you can work together in order to achieve these type of goals. You can use your political capital. You can leverage your political capital in order to gain these type of advantages. But you will not be able to do that if you're loyal to either party. Right? Because the only thing that they respect right now is the swing vote. So if you willingly give your vote away, you're not going to receive nothing in return. But if your vote comes with demands and follow through, we can have these type of results. But that requires a concentrated effort. That requires a collective of a voting block, a collective that has decided that they're not trying to escape their community or run from the people they're around, right? And build up where they're at. But see, that's come from a perception of who you are. You have to believe in yourself and your people enough to want to develop and grow your community. See, they believe in their community and who they are enough to build up their community. Because they've been taught to believe in themselves. They've been taught that there's value in the fact that they're white. Right? So that requires the development of them. This is the complex going to be. But be clear, be clear, be clear. I'm not looking for renters. I'm not looking for us to become renters. We're looking for ownership. This is capitalism. That's what America is, right? Redlining blocked us out of the government backing our mortgages. We need that done. We need to be able to redevelop our own community. I know the perception is crime, but understand that is because economics. Somebody else control our economics. So we develop our community, we're going to develop and put jobs in our community as well. That's only common sense. The same way they getting the funding to develop and those buildings, in the same way we want to request the money or the backing for us to own our houses and no longer be renters in our community, just the way they funding Lincoln Capital to own this building. We expect the state to fund us to develop our community. You can pump millions of dollars into the police department, but you can't pump millions of dollars into making us homeowners. Homeowners, right, act and conduct themselves completely different in the community. A community with home ownership, with a higher home ownership rate, has a lower crime rate, right? Have the lower vandalism rate, have less trash with ownership. So if they wanted to lower crime, that's one of the ways to target crime. If you want to lower crime in your community, that's one of the ways to target crime is ownership. Because when people buy something, they want to take care of what they own. So people treat rental cars all type of ways. Let's be clear. No one values to a community is connected to their income, ever said. Brookfield employees have shown support for the project with hopes to fill vacant positions. So the positions they're looking to fill, there's lots of very valid professions such as nursing, firefighters, and law enforcement. Now, what you also have to understand that this is the state of Wisconsin promoting a brain drain, right, from the inner city of Milwaukee. What you're doing is you're creating an environment that's more beneficial for for the skilled workers of Milwaukee to go out and service the wealthiest communities, creating a brain drain in your own community. This is your state working against you. So what I'm asking you to do is to pull your resources together, learn to vote collectively. Next week I got an email coming as well too. I'm gonna put together a new email, give it to you all next week for you all to be able to contact me so we can start to work together. Now, I have another subject I also would like to speak on. Uh, New Milwaukee youth prisons approved by city will replace troubled Lincoln Hills facility. Another project being developed in Milwaukee. Another question we got to ask. This is government financed, right? How many African American entrepreneurs will be contracted, right, in the construction in the redevelopment of this building? Well, first we want to admit that the building of a juvenile facility is a community failure. First, we would like to admit that that's a community failure. That's a failure on the part of the entire community. The fact that we are building juvenile institutions, right? But due to the fact that this juvenile institution will be built, we have to ask ourselves as African Americans, and this includes all of the prison systems, right? While we are continuously those who suffer the most from this system, right? At what point will we receive any benefit from it? Like I'm saying, when you think about this building being built, the dump trucks, the ventilation system, we have all those people in Milwaukee. How many of those contracts will be guaranteed to minorities? See, these are the type of things that we need to pull ourselves together politically, right? So that we can be able to create jobs and opportunity for each other. We have to ask these things. We have to demand to know these things. We have a black mayor. We need to know these things. We need to know what opportunity is being created for us the same way we see them constantly creating opportunities for other people through these articles, through these projects. These projects create wealth. This is why they do these things. So we have to also ask ourselves the services that are to be provided to that facility, who's going to do that? The school lacking teachers? Who's going to shape the minds of those mostly urban inner city youth? Right? It's going to be a bunch of white people that they ship in who going to have to drive and commute here every day to come and talk to people that they can't relate to, but they're going to receive a paycheck for it. We know this white lady gonna come there as that they're gonna send there to talk to these youth as if she has any ability to relate to them, but this is nothing more than to receive a check because she got a psychology degree. So it's a lot of things we have to, the whole economic structure around these institutions has to be questioned as well. Most prison institutions where they got and where it's heavily inner city Milwaukee and Racine black males, they have commissary. None of those products that they purchase on them commissaries are purchased out of our community. They're gonna have a commissary here. They're gonna pick who services that commissary. You're gonna send your children money to that institution, and that's gonna be money that they're stripping out of our community. So ask, is there going to be a black business that's able to service the canteen for this institution? Are we going to recruit and train African Americans, right, to mentor and work with these youth? See, these are the things uh, we need to be requesting. We actually probably need to be having some type of program or scholarship requiring that or allowing funding to go to small black businesses that come in and train these youth in carpentry, welding, or someone who has a skill in a degree in um, roofing or any of those things. So that this is why somebody said to me about not voting or it doesn't work, and you being fooled in integration. I'm not an integrationist, but you're governed by the laws of this land, which are shaped by politics. So to opt yourself out of the process that governs you is very foolish, you know. So, and these are just examples of what others are benefiting from off of politics, applying the politics, collectively working together. These are their benefits. You can look around in our community and you can see the lack of black businesses, and that is the result of us not doing our politics. When there's so many examples that we can use, right, to implement for ourselves to reverse our condition. Yes, they funding apartment buildings in Brookfield for them. We hold that light up to them and say, we requiring that same thing. Now they got a suggestion to move us out to Wauwatosa. That's all still redlining. But listen, black people, if you, I looked into the Wauwatosa situation. I want to explain something to you all. Wauwatosa Water gets its water under contract from Milwaukee. Milwaukee is direct access to Lake Michigan. Contracts end. Flint, Michigan, water was damaged because they transferred it off of the Michigan lake to another lake that they felt was cheaper. Just things you need to take into account when you see them trying to mass move black people to these outskirts communities, that if you do leave the inner city of Milwaukee, you leaving the water supply source. That's just one of the aspects I thought about when the man said, "Oh, we move out to Wauwatosa first, then out to Brookfield." So I had to look into the water supply system, things of that nature, right? Because that's all part of the politics of when you shaping your community and you development. You need to know, what's my access to water, what's the environmental conditions of this area in this neighborhood, right? And so that's just one of the things I thought about when I seen about the process of moving out to Wauwatosa. I'm not for us giving up the inner city areas that we are in when it comes to Milwaukee. I'm for us focus on redeveloping our community. I believe that the integration or the separation of blacks out to moving out to different areas is a way of diluting our power, right, and a way of drawing our attention away from building ourselves up and building our own community up. So um, I say if proximity creates certain similarities in certain similarities, and it creates certain where we have common interests. So that's my purpose for wanting to develop a black strong community, create our own economic base, create our own value in our own houses, in our own community. So we're not moving out to these communities where your children are outcast and their self-esteem is destroyed, right? Because they're not wanted. You cannot legislate a person's hearts. So the funding's there. The government does it repeatedly. They fund constant buildings for development for developers. So that's just on us as a people to look at our conditions, pull ourselves together, and to target these issues.